over here on Blackboard, we've got all the instructions. I will leave it to your capable minds to watch carefully for details. It's going to have sound. The sound has to be ducked in and ducked out. During the conversation, I'll show you how to do that when the time comes. And here is your source footage, the b-roll.zip. Download here. And the multicam footage 2. You're going to have to also use the multicam footage from previous week. So if you've already completed this assignment and you're just carrying it forward and refining your edits, otherwise you're going to have to download the footage from week 4 and the footage from week 5. And I've got it already pre-organized over here in a folder that I've called assignment 4_5 Madame Donuts Redux. So I've got in here a video folder, a subfolder in there called B-roll, interview, and I've downloaded this file. So I've got this soundtrack file that I can use to make audio good. Sorry, that was distracting. All right, so back to DaVinci. I'm only looking right now at my media page to get started, to get myself organized. Always want to create bins in here, one for my audio and one for my footage, which I like to call my video. And I think I'm just going to drop everything into there. Actually, you know what? I will make another bin, and I'm going to call it B-roll. You'll notice I keep everything lowercase. It's just a convention I like. Drop in all my B-roll footage. Do not change. Oh, wait a second. I've made a mistake already. I'm going to escape out of here. Don't change. I made a mistake, and that mistake is to always, when you start a new project in DaVinci, go down to your project settings here and put your eyeballs on the timeline resolution. This is, as mentioned in my specs, 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080. I do want this at 30 FPS, and that's going to set up my project exactly how YouTube likes it. So change the project frame rate, change it. It cannot be done. I've got no work yet, so we're good. B-roll, I'll drag this in. Now it's going to ask me, do I want to change the project's frame rate? Nope. I just set it up. I'm a grown-up. I know what I'm doing. Don't change it on me. My video, drag that in. This is all of my interview footage. And my audio, I'm going to keep myself wonderfully organized. This is just a good habit. We don't have a lot of footage right now, but in upcoming projects, you're going to have lots and lots of footage to manage. So in my video folder, I've got my interviews, and I have to be careful to make sure that I'm not matching and synchronizing the audio and video with the wrong clips. So I'm going to keep my inspector open here in the top right and just have the file data here so that I can see the full names. It's one of my frustrations with DaVinci. I can't really see the full, I can't get to the full name unless I click on the name here. I wish I could mouse over it and see the full name, but I can click on it and see this is Our Passion. This one here is, what are you called? I need Our Passion. So that's Our Passion. But if you can't read it, you can always just look at the inspector in the top right here, and you'll see the name will pop up when you highlight it. So the two files with the name Our Passion, I'm going to highlight them both, and to do that I need to hold down the Command key so that I can select this one and select that one. So to do a multiple select, I choose one by clicking on it, Command, and then click on the second one, right click on it, and then I'm going to create a new multicam clip using the selected clips. It's going to pop up a little dialog box, and I'm just going to call this clip 1. So this is the first clip that I'm going to use. It's much easier moving forward. And I want it to be matched up with the sound. So it's going to analyze the two waveforms, the two soundtracks in each of the videos, and it's going to line them up perfectly. I'm going to hit create. It does this neat thing. If you look carefully, it puts the files into a subfolder called original clips, so we don't lose the original data, and it replaces it with this multicam clip here that we can see up here in our monitor is showing us angle 1 and angle 2. So I'm going to do the same with these two. Click on the first one, command click on the second, right click, new multicam clip using selected clips. I'm going to call this my clip 2. Make sure I'm following the same convention, clip 1, clip 2. And I'm going to synchronize it using sound, create. Analyzes the footage, and now I've got two multicam clips. Super cool. I've also got hanging out over here in a folder called B-roll all of these yummy, interesting moments. People working. And what's kind of an interesting puzzle is that in our B-roll, sometimes we have sound, sometimes we don't. So when they recorded this donuts video, we don't hear anything, but it does have sound baked into the video because we can see that little music note. This one here, as I scrub back and forth, we can hear the noise of the restaurant, especially this one. Now we're not going to want any of that sound in our video, so I'm going to show you a powerful tip on how to overcome importing audio into your project when you don't need it. Okay, so always good. Save that project. And I am going to call this assignment 4_5 Madame Donuts Redux, which is just a fancy word for part 2. All right. Now I'm just going to hop over to the third page down here. I'm going to hop on into my edit page and get going. One thing I like to do, everybody's approach to editing can be slightly different. There's no right or wrong answer. But I like to just bring the soundtrack down. I may as well. I'm going to bring my soundtrack into the project, and I'm going to carefully position it down onto A1. And I want to be able to see the waveform. That's this pattern that we see here that describes the amplitude or the volume of our project, of our audio. So we can see when it gets loud and when it gets quiet. Now in the assignment, it asks for you to do what's called ducking. And ducking means that we decrease the volume at certain moments when this person is talking. We decrease the volume to a good amplitude, to a good volume, so that we can hear the dialogue of our interviewee. So I go back up into my video folder. You got to be careful, because look, I've got this original clips folder. DaVinci had put all of those multicam sequences, the original footage, into this original clips folder. My multicams are here in the root of the video folder. Okay. So anytime that we ask DaVinci to create a multicam clip for us, it's going to generate this sub bin called original clips and then move that footage that we've had it analyze into that folder. We don't have to go into this folder anymore. We can just use the clips that we've created as multicams. It's got this beautiful little icon here, little 4 windows that shows that it has 1 or 2 or more cameras synchronized. Cool. So I'm just going to bring clip 1 down onto video 1. Now pay close attention to what's about to happen. Pay close attention to this. When I put this down onto V1, do you see what just happened to my soundtrack? The music is getting deleted by the audio in her dialogue. So we got to be careful with this. There's got to be a better strategy. So maybe audio 1 is not the right place to be putting soundtrack. Maybe we can put it somewhere else like A2 or A3 and just get it out of the way. So let's drop it down onto A2 for now and see if we come across any other issues. I want to leave it here to cause another problem in the future. So now that it's on audio 2, we can actually rename this track, which is super powerful. I'm just going to call this my soundtrack. That's going to pop up and become important here in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to grab clip 1. I'm going to drag that down onto video 1, and you'll see that the audio in audio 1 now fits nice, and the two are playing together. Awesome. I press the play button. And we can hear right away there's a big problem. There's a big problem. The music is stomping. I use the word stomping like you're stepping on something. It's stepping on the dialogue. So how do we solve that problem? Well, if I make this track larger, normally we look at it like this. We can't really see the volume. But if I just drag this down like so, I can see that her audio is actually really quiet. It's not very loud at all. And it's competing with the volume that I can see in this waveform down here. So there's a few ways to deal with this in DaVinci. The easiest way, the fastest way, and you're only going to see this if you drop this down, is this white line here, this light gray line here. And this is the actual volume. So we can change the amplitude of the wave and make her track louder by just dragging this line up and down. Now you got to be careful about this moment and look very carefully. You see the peak of this. If I take this much louder than the top of the region, we're going to start to hear digital noise. It's going to start to clip is the word. We don't want any clipping, so I'm just going to bring this up to a reasonable volume. Now, she speaks really loudly here for a split second, and then the average goes across, and we don't really see her spike that often. So you don't have to worry about, averaging out the entire volume of the clip just because of one bad moment. That's going to fly by so fast, your ear's not going to pick up on the noise. So you can ignore that. And the rest of them, general rule of thumb, I like to bring up the peaks to about 70% of the height of the track. And just listen to it.
I think we will always be creative. We will always be inspired to do something.
Now, I'm not completely satisfied with that. We do need to have titles. So I'm going to just drop in a title to get busy. In my effects here, I'm going to look at my titles on the left-hand side and pick something to get myself going. I'll use clean and simple, and I'll drop that in. And in my inspector, I'll start to work on that. So the small text up at the top, I will say interview with, and then down below, Madame Donuts. Cool. The software will deal with the rest of the animation. You want to get yourself a bonus mark on any project with me, take some time with the fonts. Make your fonts really interesting. In the video we just watched with the gentleman from Pixar, Matthew Lund, fonts tell a story. They tell a story. They're important. So I might hang my, this might be neat, I might hang my animation for this duration of time.
I think.
Now, while there's animation playing, I don't mind if the volume of the music is loud. I don't mind. It's totally fine. So watch this. This is very powerful. Down here on our timeline, where we have this volume slider, we can hold down the Option key and click to make these little red dots. These are called keyframes. So what we're doing is we're asking at that exact moment in time, we're asking DaVinci to remember that volume. So if I slip over and highlight my audio, you'll see up here, volume is currently set to 1.6. I dragged up that line and it changed it from 1, its normal volume, what we imported it as, up to 1.6 times its original amplitude, its original volume. So I might want the beginning to be a little bit more, a little louder. So watch this cool factor. I don't have to have my playhead there. Just accidentally landed where I want it. I can do this at any point in time. I just hold down the Option key and I click, and it'll add a little red dot, and then I can grab everything before this dot and slide it up. You see what's happening? Right? Super, super cool. So this is telling me that it's going to be very, very loud. There's going to be clipping. This is bad. Don't like it. And then it's going to go down in volume and decrease to here. Now, obviously, I need to have 2 keyframes for this to happen. So as she starts to talk, I might choose to bring this down even lower. Right? This is where I can start mixing my audio, which back in the good old days, this was really hard on mixer boards and stuff like that. But this is bad. I don't like clipping up here, but once more, listen to it. You know, be the judge. Let's see.
I think.
Now, that was probably too loud. Bring this down just a little bit so that the peaks just touch the top. And I'm actually going to make a much more dramatic fade by dragging this keyframe over so that this starts to fade out a lot. Over time, it's going to happen a lot slower. So it's not going to be as abrupt. Now she doesn't talk until here. She says that pretty loud.
I think.
So we can literally grab this and drag it over to where she says I. And I'm going to drag this keyframe down, 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 down. And what I'm doing is ducking the audio. I'm decreasing its volume and I'm ducking it out.
I think we will always be creative. We will always be inspired to do something.
I like it. I like it a whole lot. But then the music kicks in after the intro. Further down the line, it gets a little bit louder. I can even pre-visualize it. I'm seeing it here. But let's listen. It's too loud. So let me drop in a keyframe here and a keyframe here, and I'll just drag it down. And I'm starting to look at the waveform to see this pattern. Right? I'm crushing the wave to keep it down low enough so that her volume is good enough that I can hear it through the entire interview.
We will always be inspired to do something with the team. Even with the donut salon, we're inspired constantly by our customers or our neighbors who bring in fresh fruit or whatever it is from their backyards. I think it's amazing.
Cool. So that's Cam A taken care of. I think by just using my eyeballs, I can see that that waveform is going to stay nice and low all the way through. We can see where it gets quieter again. So let's just listen.
Great. So I made a cheese donut. It's.
That's totally fine with me. If it's super quiet, just there in the background, just there as a nice ambiance, it works. It's good. All right. A little pro tip for those who are fancy yourselves editors. What I always like to do is just grab the entire project and just slide it on over, because you'll notice that in every script it says fade from black, right? So we're going to start with black. So if you're clicking on something in YouTube, we're not going to hear anything yet. What's kind of frustrating about this is maybe sound would be nice. So if I slip this whole thing over, let's say I just slip over the soundtrack. Oh, bummer. I just slipped all of my keyframes. Oh, sad panda. Well, I wonder if I can shift click on them all. I can grab them all and I can slip them over like so and get them back to where I need them to be, which is awesome. Now you'll notice I've got this magnet is interrupting me right now. It's snapping to my playhead. Sometimes I need to turn that off. So now when I do the slip, now you'll see it's going up and down. It's like, oh, that's really kind of obnoxious as well. Control Z, Command Z. Can I get this to slip by holding a key down? No. Shift click on them all, and then very carefully, if you need to do this, this is a rare moment, I'm going to slip all of these over like so. So I want it to come down by the time it says I remember that moment is where she says I. So I can bring it down like so. I think this will be good. And then I can use this tool here to also create a fade in with a parabolic curve. Maybe by now I want to see the title. Music comes in. Title happens. Turn on my magnet so it snaps. And then stretch out my title a little bit. Give our good friend DaVinci time to render. That's what this red line is. It's drawing the animation in the background. So it takes a minute for the computer to solve for the animation. When it turns blue, we should see it run smooth. I like it a whole lot. File, save. But having animation on a black background, it's cool, but it's not as cool as if you put it on footage. So this is an opportunity to maybe get into some B-roll. So what would be nice to see that title on? Maybe some donuts, maybe her working, right? You got to think about contrast at this point. It's got to be able to read off the background. So something like this might work. And this is where I want to start talking about refined editing. So if I turn off my inspector, my mixer, all the things, I get to see two panels left and right. This is a preview on the left-hand side of the stuff in my bins. So if I double click on this footage here, it will open on the left-hand side. That which is on my right side is the movie that I'm making. That's what I'm going to export and put onto YouTube. So I get to see the clip that I'm about to place onto my timeline. If I grab this whole chunk of footage and I drag it down, a couple of things are going to happen. If you look carefully, the audio is going to overwrite the hard work I've just done. You see that? It's breaking the soundtrack. Now I could put it up on V3, but I'm still going to get the sound on audio 3. Or, which is so awesome, you can grab just the video by itself by grabbing this little button here and dragging it down. But what if this video was 15 minutes long? What if I never stopped the camera while I walked around her restaurant and I just want a small segment of it? This is so important. I'd like to say it's an advanced tip, but it's not. It's like every editor knows this. I want to say start my footage right when the donuts get into focus, right there. So I'm dragging my playhead back and forth. And then I tap this button here, and this is setting an in point. You can also press the I key on the keyboard, in, and you'll see this will turn to light gray. And then you can scrub down, move the playhead, scrub down, and say, this is all I want. Just this section here, and then tap the out button, mark out, or tap the O key. And now only that section of video is what I'll drag down to the timeline. And I might as well be, I've seen some really sloppy editors with like 27 layers. It's frustrating. It might not be in this project a bad idea to have a layer called B-roll, but I can be economical with my layers, and I can drag this video only, not its audio. Now that it's got in and out points, I can drag this down to fit in here. And you'll notice that the clip is much smaller than it was before. But this is non-destructive editing, a very important word. So it's not like we cut the video and it's been deleted from our hard drives. We can still dig into it. And if you look carefully at what DaVinci is showing us, and I love this about DaVinci, you see the little white rectangle underneath my control? That's showing me how much more footage I have to dig into. So one thing I'll do from time to time when I'm trying to fit something perfectly into a tiny little space, well, a space cannot be smaller than a frame, right? So watch this power tip. I might start here. You can clear the in and out points if you want to. Neat. There's so much cool factor in here. I can put my playhead here. I can tap the I key, use the arrow key, the right arrow or the left arrow, and tap to go one frame forward, mark out I and O. This will literally give me one frame. So if I need to fit something in really tight, I'm only dragging down one frame of that footage. Which it's kind of weird in this scenario here. I have to zoom in now to really see that frame. But then I can still dig into it and pull out stuff that I need. It's awesome. So I'm going to fill this up. I don't have any information at the beginning because I'm going to fade in from black, and I'm going to actually drag this little slider over to fade in. Now don't forget, you're not going to see that when the tracks are crushed down. You have to scale it up, and then you'll see this little slider here, which will fade it in. I'm fading in my audio, I'm fading in my video. My animation's going to start on top of it. Let's see what it looks like. Now, I might choose right now to make that fade a lot longer. Add some drama. It's rendering. Now, the problem with this is contrast, right? Contrast meaning the difference between the relative values of the colors in the background and the font. So now's the time to fix that. So I'd jump into my animation, I'd open up the inspector, and I'd start worrying about the colors. Okay? That's all in here. Titles, settings, everything for that one animation is in here. Right? I will leave it. There's color there. It's currently set to white. I wonder if this is going to nag me. There it is down there. Color picker pops up. I'm going to pick something not that ugly. And it's cool because you can use the color picker to go up into the scene itself and actually pick a color, which is never a bad idea to do, because then you can actually utilize existing colors in the scene to make this look great. Some of the things that are less obvious about DaVinci is, like, for example, wouldn't it be nice if I could put like an outline around this, or do some other things like quickly scale it. It doesn't really, we go back to title here, controls, font size. So I would probably bump this type of stuff up. It's tracking, I'll decrease that. Line spacing's fine. Size here, let's make that bigger. Color's not good. Trying to find something that reads, and the problem is all of the contrast of the image in the background has got this dark brown and then this white icing. So it's going to be near impossible to find a relative value that's absolutely perfect without spending a good amount of time. So this might not be the right footage for this solution. I could fight for days trying to change the color. Clean and simple. What I'm trying to find here is size, and yeah, we'll just leave it at this for now. I'll come back into this after a while. If it's not working for you, replace the footage. This guy here has got some, oh, bad news. I'm making a mistake here. I'm just being lazy and grabbing the footage. I'm going to load it up. I'm going to give myself an in point, I, and an out point, O, and put that down in the background, stretch it out, fade it in. Now that, to me, looks like it's going to read. That's going to read. Cool. Fade that in too. What the heck? I like fades. I'm all about my fades. Now, back to what we were talking about last week. I'm going to highlight this footage, This is my multicam here. I want to start being able to easily switch in between the two videos. So I need to turn off my inspector so that I can get my monitor back open here. I'm going to open up my multicam footage up here by double clicking on it. I got to double click down here. It'll open it up on the left hand side. And I can make a switcheroo here without using my multicam tools. I could say, now watch this, watch closely. The first few frames are not, there's no information. That's bad. That's real bad. Now we could actually cheat maybe by doing this, by fading in. That's a good cheat. The reason why there's no information at the beginning is because camera angle 1's camera was started later than camera angle 2. So we could easily start at a wide shot. Let's start at camera angle 2. We'll switch to it. Right click on the footage, switch the multi-camera angle to angle 2. So that's where we're going to start. And there's no dead frames.
I think we will always be creative.
Cool. Don't forget to save. Save, save, save. So now I can switch on over here to my multi-camera tools, and that's sort of a hidden feature. Now, you got to reorganize your interface. So you got to turn off your inspector so that you can see the footage in the monitor to the left. Double click on the footage so it opens it up here. And then drop this little button down here to switch to multicam. Now you can tap the 1 key and the 2 key, and you can go back and forth in rhythm. I can hear the music in the background, so sometimes it's fun to do an edit to the beat, but not all the time. It can be overdone, but now you've got music and you got your headphones on, so nothing's being recorded back into your microphone if you've got that feature turned on. Keep your headphones on so you can listen to what's going on. Look for the end of sentences to do a cut. And if you're not comfortable using the 1 and 2 key, you can just click on these 2 camera angles up here where we see the little razor blade. And we can cut between the 2 clips. So let me demonstrate that. I will zoom back out on my timeline. And I have to press play, spacebar. And I am going to use the 1 and 2 keys. I'm currently on 2, angle 2. I got there by right-clicking and switching to angle 2. So I'm going to start the process, press play.
I think we will always be creative, we will always be inspired to do something with food. Even with the donut salon, we're inspired constantly. Like our customers or our neighbors who bring in fresh fruit or whatever it is from their backyards. I think it's amazing. We change our menu every day based on what inspired us that day. Hey, we get fresh lemons today. Well, we'll make lemon meringue donuts.
Yeah, super powerful. And it just auto-magically does the cuts between each of the shots. Now, if you've made a mistake and you want to do a refined edit,
bring in fresh fruit.
You can always grab between the 2 clips where the 2 brackets and the arrows pop up. You can grab it and slip the footage between the 2 shots. And find that perfect moment to do the edit. Now my audio here is still too loud. Let me just bring it down and duck it even farther. I think these 2 keyframes I can shift click. I can drag it over. Highlight 1, click, shift click on the other one. You can highlight multiple keyframes. Let's watch it again.
I think we will always be creative, we will always be inspired to do something with food. Even with the donut salon, we're inspired constantly. Like our customers or our neighbors who bring in fresh fruit.
Awesome. Now, if you wanted to go out and get some B-roll with fresh fruit, that'd be cool, because she just talked about fresh fruit. But let me just show you quickly how to grab some more B-roll. So I will double click on the footage in my bin. That loads it up here into the monitor. This doesn't have multicam, so it's switched back to the normal tools. I don't need a lot of footage from this video, so I'm just going to dig into it. Like, where does it get interesting? Tap the I key for an in point, scrub over a bit, tap the O for the O key, and then grab this little film strip. I don't want the sound, I just want the film, and then I can drag it down on top. And this is how we add B-roll. It's really that simple.
But berries, of course, we'll make a mixed berry donut. I was missing a cheese plate, so I made a...
Contextually, that doesn't make any sense at all. So I'm just gonna, I like it. I'm gonna delete it, just slip it down. Eventually she's gonna talk about working with stuff, so I'm just gonna leave that little cut there, may as well. Yeah. The next part is literally rinse and repeat. Gonna go back into my video folder, grab clip 2, and I'm going to drop this down onto the timeline. Now I've got a problem. My music has just run out. Is there more music? No, there's no more music. Quick solution. Hold down the Option key, click and drag on a clip, and dupe it. It's really that easy. Hold down the Option key, click and drag on a clip, and it will duplicate it. You could do copy paste, you could drag it down again, but by holding down the Option key and dragging it, it brought with it all of its interesting moments like the keyframes that I can still utilize. Now this is going to end the song and then start the song, so it might not be a bad idea to just use an effect, an audio effect, do a crossfade. And if you're having a hard time finding effects, you can always search for them. So I want to just do a crossfade. It's under audio transitions. They're not croxes, they're crossfades. And I'm going to drag that down on this footage. Or what's even easier is I'm just going to make my own crossfade by dragging these sliders apart. So this song's going to fade out and then fade back in. And one thing I like to do with music and soundtrack is just leave some time away from it. I'm just going to leave a gap between the songs. There's nothing going on here. Let her talk for a while before the music kicks back in. Let's see what happens.
It's really, really good. So anything that you put on it, it's just literally blaze on the
Her volume is really low again. Now watch this power. This is a beautiful thing about DaVinci. Okay, this is so powerful. Down here, we haven't really looked at it yet, but there's a little music button. Has anybody dug into this yet? Anyone tried it? So this is called Fairlight. It is a full-featured audio engineering suite. And yeah, you didn't have to pay for it. It's free. And all of the things like fades and stuff are translated over. Did I mention it's free? You can zoom in and out just like you can on your master timeline, and we can see things like the cuts that were done in the audio previously. We can see that when we get into clip 2, her volume drops. Now we could eyeball this and be like, oh, I want that to, oh, no, watch this. You can right click on this, copy this clip, click on another clip, right click on it and paste the attributes from one clip to the other. Paste the attributes. If you're using plugins to do things, you can choose only to copy and paste the plugins. If you've done any sound equalization, you can do that, or all three. But I just want the volume attribute to be translated to this. And it's perfectly in sync with the other one.
Stimulating. I don't think we can possibly stop creating food. This is our passion. It's not your ordinary film.
Now, that's a quick look at Fairlight. One thing that we did last semester, which was the wild ride video. And you used all of the transitions, right? Just to play around with them, to have some fun. Transitions are meant to, and in the grammar of editing, are meant to imply the passage of time. That you've stopped talking about something and now you've moved on to something else, or you've left this room and you're cutting to a scene outside of the college. You're showing the passage of time. So between this video and this one, I'm going to switch the camera angle to 2. I'm going to just put in my own cut. I'm going to do this manually. I'm going to use the blade tool and cut it and just right click and switch the angle. So I'm going to have her in a close-up, and then we switch to the next.
Stimulating. I don't think we can possibly stop creating food. This is our passion. It's not your ordinary.
So there's a passage of time. This is where we use effects, video transitions, cross dissolves. There's a lot of fancy pants in here. Don't fall prey to them. They don't look professional. Like hexagon irises and slides. You're not George Lucas. You're not making Star Wars. He used all kinds of pushes and slides and quad splits in his movies. They're his. He owns them. Additive dissolves are pretty funky looking. They're kind of cool. But cross dissolve has a little red dot beside it because it is so important. Yeah, and when you're ready to use it, just drag it on down between your footage. What's going on, my friend? Something's bugging out here. I don't know why. Let me zoom in. This was happening before with my dissolves. Let me cut into this a bit. Cross dissolve.
This is our passion. It's not your.
Yeah, I need that. I need that dissolve. And I don't know why DaVinci Resolve will not give me my DaVinci Dissolve.
The ordinary.
It happens with the cut tab.
Sorry?
It happens with the cut tab, I think. Second
Yeah.
one below. Can I cross dissolve with that? I did that in Force. Same thing.
It's just not working. It's just not working. Let me head on over to the edit page and see if it'll let me do it here. Ooh, fancy pants. You've reached the limitation. Do. Cross. Is it not even in here? I never use this page. Let me try this. When in doubt, this is never a bad thing. We've got to learn to muscle around our software. Go back into the DaVinci. Sometimes we've got to muscle around our software because it doesn't cooperate with us. Let's get back into our assignment 4.5, Madame Donuts Redux. And if it's gonna work, right? It's gonna work? That is so surreal. For some strange reason, it's letting me cross dissolve on all of the other footage, except for the one clip I just added. Let me sometimes even Premiere does this. If it doesn't have anything to cross dissolve into, it causes an error. So I'm going to drag this back a bit, and you'll see there's a little bit of footage at the beginning to cross dissolve into. Does that fix it? Kind of. Now it's going to let me do it.
Not your ordinary donut.
There we go.
Not your ordinary donut.
I'm going to make a fade into my audio because there's a blip at the beginning.
Not your ordinary donut.
An audio transition crossfade. Let's try to fix up that blip in the audio.
It's not your ordinary
Smooth. Smooth. Cool. And then I'm not going to do the multicam editing on the second clip. Just fade out your stuff. One thing I love to do with soundtrack, I'll extend it into the black. This is a matter of choice. And then I fade it out over a long period of time. So my video will fade out, my audio of her talking will fade out, and then the sound will play for a little bit longer.
Healthier than most food that you get out there in a lunch plate. You know what I mean? We use real ingredients, and we can pronounce every ingredient that we put on it.
Now that's where the video should end. She just finished a sentence, and I'm going to guarantee you right now, some of you are going to make this mistake, where the rest of the video she continues a thought.
There's no preservatives.
That's a terrible fade.
Fresh every day.
She's still talking. It's funny because like we're done listening to you, right? We're done. So pick that interesting moment where she ends her conversation.
We use real ingredients, and we can pronounce every ingredient that we put on it.
That would be a good spot to stop. We can pronounce everything that we put on it. Find that moment again.
And we can pronounce every ingredient that we put on it.
You can actually see, if you look carefully on the actual audio, you can listen and you can see where she stops talking. Did you have a question? Okay. I can nudge in like this with my arrow keys to find that perfect moment. B key, blade cut, A key, select, and delete. Maybe this video does not get a fade because she did not provide an interesting moment. Not her fault, actually. It's the videographer's fault. So what could you do to solve this? B-roll. All right. Just jump into your old B-roll, grab yourself a donut, stick it in there. It's still only 1 frame's worth of donut. Stretch that out. Now you got something to fade out to. Let's look at some donuts for a while, and then we'll fade out while the audio is going down.
We can pronounce every ingredient that we put on it.
That's my preference. Like on YouTube, you still hear the music for a while. Maybe you could throw up a thank you or a credits, but anyway. Save that project. You're all masters at exporting stuff now.